1998 was the year that gave us Oscar-winning films like Shakespeare in Love and Saving Private Ryan. And speaking of movies, this was the year when Celine Dion's heart would go on and on and on at the Grammys, all while the Tonys beat the Oscars at the Emmys. But what about the Game Awards? If you ever wanted to know what old school games took home the top prizes, then you've definitely come to the right place. Today we're going to recreate Electronic Gaming Monthly's best and worst of 1998, featuring more than 30 categories that include everything from best special effects, to best use of a vibrator, to the game that Bob Vila would enjoy playing. So let me cue up the VHS tape and introduce you to the greatest televised awards show to never be broadcast. Near, far, wherever you are, these are the best and worst games of 1998. Live on tape from the historic Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in Los Angeles, California, is Electronic Gaming Monthly's 11th annual Best and Worst Awards. And now, your host, the guy who was fired just a few short years ago, it's Cyril Lachelle. Hello and welcome, my name is Cyril, and this is Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards of 1998. Oh my god, it feels so good to finally be back on this stage. And let me tell you, it's great to see you all again. Tom Cruise, oh, how I missed you, Tom. Oh, and I can't believe Chloe Sevigny is here. Man, I loved you and kids. After all that has happened in the last few years, it means the world to me that you found it in your heart to forgive and allow me to once again retake my rightful place as the host of this award show. And I also want to thank the US National Video Game Team for standing by me despite all of those rumors and controversies. So, my team calls me up. Oh my god, Cyril, the world is upset about what you said a few years ago. Oh my god. Guys, I'm almost 40, and I think you know that hosting the Electronic Gaming Monthly Best and Worst Awards has been a dream of mine. And I'm telling you that there's nothing that I wanted more than to return to the job I loved. So when they called me up and told me that I needed to apologize for suggesting that the statues were fake and the whole thing was a lie, I knew what I had to do. I mean, only a complete moron would lose their dream job simply because they refused to apologize, right? So I'm here to tell you that I'm sorry for suggesting that this was actually created by a guy in 2018 using clips from old Oscar telecasts. If you don't believe people can change, grow, evolve as they get older, then I don't know what to tell you. If you want to hold people in a position where they always have to justify and explain their past, then do you. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I appreciate both you and Electronic Gaming Monthly for giving me a second chance. And I promise that this year's ceremony will go off without a hitch. Nobody is going to spout conspiracy theories. Nobody is going to be quitting, and nobody is going to get sucked into a demonic vortex like last year. So, maybe instead of me just standing here and apologizing, we should get to the part where we hand out hardware. How does that sound? It definitely sounds like you're ready for a night filled with surprises, so let's just kick things off with a game that's known for making a great entrance. Resident Evil 2. The zombies are back and looking better than ever in a game that takes home the top prize for Best Intro. In terms of pure atmosphere and scene-setting power, you can't beat this lengthy cinema. And if we're gonna talk about incredible CGI cinemas, then you can't ignore Metal Gear Solid, the winner of Best Ending. There's not much here I can say without getting into massive spoilers, but needless to say that both possible endings are dramatically superb, well acted, beautifully presented, and above all else, surprising. Quest 64 was also surprising, but not for the same reason. The winner for Worst Ending had crummy conclusion written all over it. The main goal is to track down your missing father, so you would probably expect some sort of big build-up as we eventually get to that reunion, right? Well, don't count on it, because all we get is an incredibly dull 1-minute conversation that ends with you fighting the boss and then the credits rolling. That's it. Talk about a perfectly lame end to a perfectly lame game. 1998 was the year when original IPs died. Between Resident Evil, Metal Gear, Zelda, and even Sonic, This year had more sequels than a Friday the 13th movie. And the winner for Best Sequel of 1998 goes to the consistently great Tekken 3, which improved on the graphics, characters, backgrounds, and even the bonus games. And don't forget about the insane CG rendered endings, which came super close to winning the Best Ending category this year. Yoshi's Story, on the other hand, picked up the award for Most Disappointing Sequel, because it absolutely squandered everything that was good about the original. It's short, easy, and ultimately not particularly rewarding. It's simply not at the level you expect from Nintendo. And while we're talking about games that disappointed us, C, the Contra Adventures, takes home the prize for Best Way to Destroy a Successful Franchise. Oh boy, they really went to town on this one, didn't they? Remember how good the first Contra was back in the arcades and on the NES? Well, this was the complete opposite. I don't think it's too much to say that Konami somehow managed to destroy the magic entirely. This isn't just some crummy game, but a multi-megaton thermonuclear destruction with salt and lemon rubbed into the wounds just to make it hurt. Now that we're all warmed up, I want to gently segue over to something that I like to call the Game Awards. Here we're going to look at some of the random games that we wanted to celebrate in 1998, starting with Wwf War Zone, which is the surprising winner of the brand new category Game Bob Vila would enjoy playing. In case you don't know, Bob Vila was the fix-it-up guy from This Old House. So why would he enjoy this wrestling game? Because in WWF War Zone, you're able to remodel an unlimited amount of wrestlers who, in some cases, are as big as a house. I wonder if Bob Vila would like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, the winner of game most likely to take years to finish. As you know, the Zelda franchise has had a rocky history at this award show, and 1998 is no exception. EGM liked the groundbreaking N64 game, but only enough to give it an award for its length. One thing I know is that it won't take you years to beat Jeopardy on the Nintendo 64, the winner of #1 game we hate to love. There's no doubt about it, this version of Jeopardy is awful. It repeats questions too often, it demands perfect spelling, and the graphics are about as exciting as a cardboard cutout of DMV employees. But it also falls into the camp of being so bad that it's actually good. The whole thing is unintentionally hilarious, which makes this a must-play. On the other hand, NFL Extreme picks up the prize for #1 game we love to hate. This is not a great game, but it's just so much fun to hate. We'll get back into the reasons why a little later in this broadcast. You've been warned. Speaking of warnings, you should do everything in your power to avoid the PlayStation version of San Francisco Rush, which picks up the win for a game that should have stayed in the arcade. This is a game that showed us just how bad it's possible to make an arcade conversion. The 3D graphics are embarrassing, the controls are all over the place, and the frame rate is wildly inconsistent. Did nobody play test this game before it shipped to the stores? This is something you can also say about Pitfall 3D, this year's retro game that should have stayed retro. Pitfall Harry always looked happier when he had an excuse for poor presentation and repetitive gameplay. His last PlayStation incarnation is mind-numbingly bad with cheap gameplay, horrible sludge-brown graphics, and some of the worst puzzles ever. And on the topic of games that probably should have stayed in the past, Body Harvest is the winner for the Fashionably Late Award. Remember Body Harvest? No? Well, it's probably because the game was announced several years ago and left almost no impression when it finally came out. DMA Design should probably be commended for finishing the project, but that's about the best I can say about that. 1998 was the year when developers really stepped up their audio game. From professional voice acting to world-class musicians, the EGM editors were legitimately blown away by the way the game sounded this year. Probably the best example of this is Metal Gear Solid, which takes home the statue for best voice work. There's a lot of voice acting in Metal Gear Solid, and not a single person phones it in. All of the actors provide sterling performances, with some notable disturbing efforts from the actors that played the ninja in Psycho Mantis. Also worth noting is Banjo-Kazooie, which wins for best voice work without real voices. Sure, it's little more than a bunch of sounds and noises, but everybody's so expressive and wonderful. Too bad you can't say the same thing about the Grand Stream Saga, which wins for worst voice acting. For such an impressive RPG, it sure is a shame that the voice acting is so incredibly bad. Cheesy actors sound like they were reading their lines rather than acting them, with none of them sounding even remotely interested in being there. On a similar note, NHL 99 proved that not all voice work is acting. This sports smash from Electronic Arts wins for Best Play-by-Play, showing everybody else how to convey compelling information while the action heats up. I mean, it helps that the voice work is done by veteran NHL broadcasters who love the game, and it sets a new high watermark for sports games. Sadly, you won't find a similar high watermark for Gex 64, which picks up the prize for best reason to use the mute button. Has anyone seen Fox Mulder's sister? 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 Right. Repeat this phrase about 100 more times and you've captured the audio experience of Gex 64 on the Nintendo 64. And if you think that's annoying, then you haven't played the Spice World game. The Spice Girls win the prize for Worst Music, sending the editors of EGM right up the wall. Not only is Spice World a mockery of video gaming entertainment, but it takes a bunch of songs that are already terrible, hacks them up into a bunch of little chunks, and lets you muck around with them until you make them sound even worse. This is not what girl power is all about. You know, I actually kind of like the Spice Girls. They're like the 90s Village People. They all play unique characters, and you know what? Maybe this isn't the right venue to analyze pop groups. I'll just pick this up when I host the Grammys. Alright, so where were we? Oh, that's right, it's time to spend a little more time honoring the greatness of Metal Gear Solid. That's right, Konami picks up another statue for best artwork, because there's no denying just how awesome the character design is in Metal Gear. There's also no denying that it has the best special effects of the year. I mean, this game seems to do everything right. Explosions, infrared effects, cool lighting, you name it, it's all here. What's most impressive is the way it combines camera angles and movie-like sensibility with incredible use of motion blur and focus effects. And the whole thing is capped off with the DualShock's Rumble, which means that Metal Gear Solid also takes home the prize for best use of a vibrator. A lot of games have force feedback these days, but very few of them use it as creatively as Metal Gear. You feel the gunfire, helicopter blades, and the vibration of the elevator. This really is one of the most impressive games of the year on every conceivable level. Now, getting away from Metal Gear for a moment, Tecmo is the winner for Most Improved Company. After years of hits like Ninja Gaiden and Tecmo Bowl, the fan-favorite developer is back at cranking out must-own games like Deception 2, Monster Rancher, and best of all, Dead or Alive. If they ever wake up and revive the Ninja Gaiden series in the way it deserves, then Tecmo will find itself in quite an elite crowd. Speaking of which, Tecmo almost won the prize for Best Print Ad, but was narrowly beat out by Turboprop Racing by Sony Computer Entertainment. The EGM editors were even more excited to play this lesser-known racer when they saw the topless girls in the advertising. Oddly enough, they had the complete opposite reaction when they saw the topless men in the Crash Bandicoot Warped commercial, the winner of Worst Print Ad. They weren't interested in the oiled-up men, the nonsensical tagline, and the man-in-costume joke. On the other hand, maybe you'll be interested in these words from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
Why is Reese's Peanut Butter Puff so cool? I'll tell you why. It's like having a Reese's Cup and having it turned into a bowl of cereal. A chocolatey puff and a peanut butter puff merging on the highway of your mouth. It's two great tastes taking you on a Reese's road trip. It's even part of this complete breakfast. Face it, Chief, you could have $1,000 allowance, a Harrier jet, even your own basketball shoe, and it's still not as cool as having Reese's on your spoon. Reese's Peanut Butter Puff cereal. It's very cool.
Laser challenge. Laser challenge. Laser challenge. Laser challenge. Laser challenge. The hottest in town. The coolest around. Laser challenge. Vest and gun sold separately. Batteries not included.
Get maxed.
There's a new launch
that just moseyed into town from over the border.
Get 'em, Nacho!
And it's ready to blow the old lunch bag away. Introducing new Lunchables Taco Bell Tacos and Nachos. A real fiesta of fixins for making your own tacos and nachos. And there's no need to heat them. New Lunchables Taco Bell Tacos and Nachos. Make fun of lunch.
Thanks, dude.
Welcome back to Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst of 1998. In case you're just tuning in, so far this evening, we've given out awards to Metal Gear Solid and, well, mostly Metal Gear Solid. I'm not sure I'd want to be a game nominated against Solid Snake, which thankfully won't be a problem for our next category, Hottest Game Babe. While a lot of people expected the women of Dead or Alive to sweep this category, EGM surprised everybody by going with Tiffany from Rival Schools, United by Fate. First of all, Rival Schools is one of Capcom's best fighters, and it's a shame that it isn't talked about more. Tiffany is just one of the great characters from this game, though I'm not sure how I feel about calling a high school girl a babe. Maybe we should just move on to the hottest game hunk, which this year goes to Makujin, the Woodman from Tekken 3. By the way, Makujin also takes home the prize for best showing of wood, because EGM couldn't resist making one more erection joke. That's right, ladies, he's hard in all the right places, especially in his hands, which are all made of iron. He's all wood, all the time. Unfortunately, not every character could be as cool and hunky as Makujin, because Brian takes home the statue for most annoying character of 1998. In case you forgot, Brian is the hapless hero at the center of Quest 64, and he's basically the really annoying version of Link. EGM hated his generic name and bouncy ponytail thing. This character is every bit as forgettable as the game he stars in. You know what isn't forgettable? G. Darius, the winner of Coolest Bosses. Huge Fish is where it's at, and this shoot-'em-up packs in a ton of them. No game even comes close to the sheer amount of variety of bosses than G. Darius, and it's easily the best reason you should seek out this incredible shooter. And just because we're contractually obligated to bring it up in every block, Metal Gear Solid wins for the best butt shot of 1998. So, get this. Early in the game, when meeting Meryl for the first time, you realize that she's beaten up a guard and stolen his uniform. Where's that guard? Well, he's kneeling on the floor, naked. Good thing the game has the sense to blur out his unmentionables. So, in the past, we've been accused of giving out bad medical advice. As the host of this year's Best and Worst Awards, I want to remind everybody that this is a show about giving overrated game statues they probably don't deserve, and not a medical show. Consult your doctor if you want to find the legitimate best cure for insomnia. Or maybe just check out Legend of the River King on the Game Boy. I'm not saying you'll go to sleep, but this snooze fest definitely won't hurt. Also, if you're looking to get institutionalized, perhaps play Colony Wars Vengeance, the winner of game most likely to drive you insane. Think the first Colony Wars was tough? This Psygnosis sequel packs missions that seem only slightly less difficult than pounding holes through a cement wall with your head. Speaking of slamming your head against a wall, Spawn on the PlayStation takes the win for worst use of a license. Come on, is it really that hard to make a Spawn game? This is a character rich with possibilities, and yet this is what you come up with? This game is a snooze, complete with bad graphics, a boring story, and action that's the opposite of intense. Well, at least it's sort of original, unlike NFL Extreme, the winner of Worst NFL Blitz Ripoff. Okay, fine, it's also the only NFL Blitz ripoff, but it's still pretty damn blatant. NFL Extreme takes some elements from Game Day and some elements from Blitz, and then adds a rotten egg and starts up the blender. The outcome is a game that's about as clunky as they come and doesn't do justice to either game that inspired it. And before we finally rid ourselves of the negativity, I want to draw your attention to the Nintendo 64 DD, which is this year's winner for biggest vaporware. After what seems like years of speculation, Nintendo would appear to have given up on the DD for all territories apart from Japan. So, no fancy games with add-on levels, no weird Japanese sticker club style fun, and an even longer wait for games that were supposed to ship on it. Who knew I'd feel nostalgic for the 32X? Ladies and gentlemen, Woodman and Spice Girls, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. No, it's not the game of the year. EGM stopped doing that a few years ago. But we are going to look at the best of the best. Let's start off with the best party game, which goes to the very deserving WCW NWO Revenge on the Nintendo 64. With its simple control scheme, realistic animation, and wealth of modes, this N64 card is a fantastic 4-player WrestleFest. It's also a lot more brutal than you might expect, perfectly capturing the action of a real wrestling event. Now, when it comes to the most hype for a game award, look no further than Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation. EGM knew they were seeing something special the moment they caught their first glimpse of Metal Gear Solid at E3. And they let you know about it month after month after month after month, even when there wasn't any new information. Good thing it lived up to the hype, leading the pack with 6 wins tonight. But was that enough for Solid Snake & Company to take home the game most bought by the EGM staff? It was a close one, but this year's winner is Tekken 3 on the PlayStation. It's no surprise that the third installment of the Iron Fist tournament had us running to the store as quickly as our little feet could take us. This is simply a graphics and gameplay tour de force, featuring huge, detailed characters, colorful backgrounds, and fast-paced action you won't find anywhere else. Toss in the funky side games like Tekken Ball Mode and Force Mode, and you have yourself one of the very best games of 1998. Oh, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but that brings us to the end of yet another incredible year of Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards. And what a year it's been! We saw Gex annoy everybody, Mokujin show wood, and Metal Gear Solid win everything. Yeah, it was a big year for Metal Gear. But it's nice to see smaller games like Rival Schools united by Fate, G. Darius, and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time sneak in there and steal a few trophies. It's been a while since I've been able to say this, but... Oh, that was weird. What's going on? Okay, seriously, what's happening to me? Guys, I'm not sure how much longer I have, so for myself and all of us at Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards, stay safe and keep playing. See you next year, hopefully. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards. If you liked what you saw here, then I want you to know that we only have one episode left and it's going to go up on Friday. Before that happens, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite game of 1998? I want to see all your choices in the comments below. So, how is this thing going to end? We're almost to the explosive series finale, which is going to answer all the questions and surprise you with a twist ending. I know, that's a lot of hype. But look, I'm excited to show you the complete season of EGM's Best and Worst Awards. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.